Hello. We are going to do something a little bit new and introduce it today. This probably will be a little bit shorter podcast because we're just going to introduce some things that we have planned and we've been thinking about for 2025 and maybe beyond that. We have talked about releasing older projects of yours for a long time. And
on 8-track and
yeah,
45
really.
and vinyl.
You're going to have no way to play them, but
Right.
We're going to release them. No, we're going to release them digitally. And some of them are already on the website, but we are looking at all of the projects and we're going to do as many as we can. And we're going to kind of time release them over the next several months, maybe year. It might take longer than that, depending on how many we release. But just wanted to talk to you about them today. We're calling this Looking Back, which is the name of an album.
That was actually an album title of the first album I did in Nashville. Well, not the first one I did in Nashville. The first one I did with Benson Records in Nashville, which would have been about 1971 probably, and it was entitled Looking Back. I was trying to think of the first verse when I thought of that earlier.
71 or 81?
No, about 71.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did the first two, and these are the kind of things that we're going to talk about in the future as we post these older projects. Yeah, there's lots of memories, things that happened in the studio, maybe got some take wrong, 10 times in a row. People buy the record or buy the CD and they just think, oh, that was a great song, but they don't know what all happened.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great stories in the making of the records. I certainly have my favorite projects. I have my favorite songs. A lot of stories behind the songs and things like that, which we've covered at points before. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun to look at.
Yeah.
When I was thinking about the title, Looking Back, that song is Looking Back, I see where I went wrong. I'm only sad that to find out took so long. And I thought, well, maybe we shouldn't use that title because this isn't a sad thing. But it seemed like a good title, a good working title, because it's what we're doing. We're going to look back at some of these older projects. In fact, just the other day, it just popped in my head, a friend from Arkansas called. We had ministered at their home several years ago, just kind of a small home gathering. And he contacts me every once in a while. We kind of stay in touch. And he called me the other day and he said, well, I just wanted to share with you that I was just out in my yard and he refurbishes old military style Jeeps. And I don't know if I've got the story all right, but a gentleman either had a Jeep or had some parts or needed some parts or something. Anyway, came to visit my friend. And in the course of talking, this gentleman shared that I think his wife was starting to struggle with dementia, Alzheimer's, something like that. Just a tough stretch in his life. And somehow, I don't remember how, my friend mentioned to him maybe about a song. Had he ever heard of Dallas Holm? And the guy said, oh, I know who that is. I went to a concert years ago and I had probably an album back then. And there was a particular song that just had really, really ministered. And he said the man just started to break down and cry from the remembrance of this album. It was just, and we just talked afterwards about the fact that you never know what God's up to in your life. That was something that happened years ago. You write a song, you go in the studio or you release it, you pray about it, you pray over it, you believe by faith that God's going to use it. But for the most part, you don't know how he uses it. And to hear those testimonies, which I find at this point in my life, they just seem to pop up a little more often. It's kind of like little gifts from God to say, I just want you to know that that song or that concert or something back there, I used that and it touched someone's life. So that really is what we want to do with this. It's not just about, here's some music from Dallas Holm to remember. Nostalgic memories are powerful. Sometimes we make a connection with an experience, a moment, something wonderful that God did, maybe a very difficult moment that we need God's grace presently to continue us down the road. So we see it as a real interesting ministry. We don't have it all put together in every detail yet, but I think we're going with the working title, Looking Back, and then every few weeks, maybe once a month, I don't know, we'll make one of these available and you can listen to it, and then we can, on some of the podcasts as we release them, talk about some of the projects.
We'll do a little expose on the things that were
Yeah.
happening in and around this. So here's a few. Through the Flame. This one we have the compilation, but we can do those
Yeah, we'll do
individually
those
as
separately.
well. Before Your Throne. That's actually more recent, but even
Yeah.
that is
That's
at least 22
several
years
I
old,
know.
probably. Completely Taken In. Face of Mercy. The Early Works, Beyond the Curtain and Through the Flame, and we will go with Dallas Film and Praise Live. We're probably going to have to get albums of those. I think we
Yeah,
have
we've got all of
to
those.
show.
Yeah, we do.
So we'll find them.
I've even got 8 tracks. Someone just about 2 days ago, they sent me a picture. I can't remember who it was now, but it was like their daughter found this 8-track somewhere at a vintage store. Mm-hmm. And I said, hey, you might want to hold on to that. I think they paid a couple bucks for it. But 8 tracks didn't last very long. That
Yeah.
was a technology that kind of came in and moved out. Cassettes took over. But I had about, in fact, it was the live album with Rise Again on it. It was an 8-track of that. And I texted back and I said, that may be the last album that was available on 8-track. Well, then I Googled it and found that we did 3 more albums, All That Matters, I Saw the Lord, and Tell 'Em Again were also available on 8-track. So actually, I think All That Matters would have been the last album that was available. And that was available on album, cassette, and 8-track. So we're going to look at some of those things. It'd be interesting
Yeah.
to dig out some of the old technology and talk about remembrances. And I've got a lot of memories of certain songs, certain interactions with session musicians. My good friend Phil Johnson, who produced most of those. We just had some really, really great times in the studio. And now, as they say, hindsight is so crystal clear. Now I kind of look back and see that all that stuff we were doing really was significant. God used it, and it'll be fun to revisit it.
Yeah. So stay tuned, and we will be visiting this again soon. Have a great day.